really good morning. So I'm going to use a couple of yoga blocks for practice today. I'm going to use them in a couple of different ways. But to start with, I'm going to use them as an opportunity to sort of expand across my shoulders and open my chest a little bit. Get a little bit of a, it's like being held in an upside down cobra, or similar to a fish pose, if you have familiarity with the fish pose. So the way I'm going to work it is I'm going to put one block underneath my shoulder blades, and then I'm going to do actually my head a little higher. You can do a more traditional kind of fish version of this where your head is lower or even, but I'm going to go for higher. I like it better. If you don't have yoga blocks, but you've got either a throw pillow or you've got a blanket, you can take your blanket and fold it so that you've got kind of about, I don't know, maybe close to the size of a block. This can go down the length of your spine, or you can go crossways. Similar idea, it'll go right where the block goes, right underneath the shoulder blades. You have a throw pillow. Turn your throw pillow so the points, you have one going towards your head, one going towards your sacrum, and then the two other corners will go across the broadness of your shoulders, and then you can do a similar kind of opening with just a throw pillow. Okay, so we're going to lie down on our back. If you want to skip that whole part, you can just lay down. That will also work. Now, if you're using blocks, they can be quite firm, and so you want to find the place where it feels like the shoulder blades are holding your body weight. So sometimes it takes a few tries to get that just right. If it's too low down your back, it'll poke you right in the spine. But if it's high enough up that your shoulder blades can basically rest on the block, that expansive bone will help. And then there should be like a little bit of room between the top of the block. Maybe the top of the block comes right about where the top of your shoulder line is, but you've got room for your neck. And then you can decide whether you like the arm a little wider out or if you want the arm a little closer. If you'd like, you can put your feet in a butterfly shape, or you can have your legs bent, knees bent, feet on the floor. I generally like it with the legs just out straight, but you can decide. Usually for me, it's like after it takes a minute or so and things start to really let go and settle, and I might have to make another adjustment one more time. So once you get yourself adjusted on the blocks, we're just going to take nice deep breaths. Every few breaths, I try to get a little bit of expansion in my rib cage. So when you breathe so that the lower abdomen is mostly what expands, that's a great way to breathe. It helps you breathe really deeply. But restricting the lower abdomen and making the rib cage expand is a way to get a little bit of movement in the intercostal muscles. And so every few breaths, even though it feels a little bit more challenging to get a really super deep breath with just that rib cage area, it does help get that area moving, so you can try that as well. We're going to stay for about another 30 seconds or so, about 5 deep breaths. When you're ready, You can take the blocks out from under you or the blanket or whatever you're using. And then we'll come back onto our back and just see what happens. Oh. And usually I like the sensation that happens when I come off the blocks. There's this kind of widening or open sensation across my upper back. It's quite pleasant. And then if you reach your arms up so that you're kind of pulling your shoulder blade around the edge, you can rock right in between the two shoulder blades and get the muscles that live in that area. Oh, it's nice. Oh. And then you might want some little windshield wipers with your legs. Now, so we're going to pick a direction, and we're going to take the legs in that direction. So they could go left or right. So I'm going to take mine to the right. And then you can just stack the legs up, or you can throw a block underneath or in between your knees if you like. And sometimes if I put a block in between and then stretch the leg all the way out, sometimes that gives me a little bit more of a tug through this little IT band area, so you can check into that. Now I'm actively working on stretching my chest muscle and a stretch across my hip. And you can lower the hip a little bit away from the rib cage to see how that goes. Now we're going to come back. Now whatever leg is on top, we're going to grab hold of that. So in my case, it's my left leg, so I'm going to hang on to that. Stretch the right leg out nice and long and spin this left foot in circles. And then go the other direction. Give this leg a little squeeze, and then we're going to see if we can extend the leg just to the point where we feel that in the back of the thigh, and maybe the calf muscles as well. Bend the knee, give it a little hug. See if you can extend it. Bend the knee, give it a little hug. See if you can extend it. Now, I've got hold of my left leg. I'm going to bend my right knee and put the foot on the floor. And I'm going to take my left ankle to that right thigh. Okay. Then I'm going to bring my hands either behind my head so that I can press my head into my hands and then prevent myself from trying to lift myself with my neck muscles. Or if you're pretty good about that, then you can extend your right arm out to the side, and then you're going to bring your right shoulder and your right arm toward this left side of your knee. Okay. So left knee. Now, if you're pulling with your neck, definitely put your hands behind you. Otherwise, let that left arm rest, or whatever arm is the one that goes for you guys. And then just come across your body. One day I'm going to coordinate this with some disco music because it feels like a John Travolta move. I'm stretching out through my arm and then stretching through that shoulder, trying to bring my side waist all the way over there as best I can. All right, we're going to try 3 more. And then a bonus round. And then once you get back on your back, just pause for a second, let everything relax, and notice, like, was I using my neck to try to get myself up? Do I mostly feel the sensation in my side waist using the obliques? It's just a good way to kind of check in with yourself and make sure that, in fact, you were doing good things for yourself. Now, bring the legs in, still in that configuration. We'll give this outer hip a little bit more love. If this is too much, just go back to resting on the floor. Now we're going to try to hover the legs, bring the hands behind the head, and this is just to warm up the upper part of the abdominal muscles. So we're going to press the head back and curl up, okay? So we're just going to curl or lift the pelvis, lift the torso, keep the neck nice and strong. So we're doing all this work with the abdominals. So curl up and come back down. More. And a bonus round. And then bring everything down and give yourself a nice big stretch. And then just see where you landed. Does the left side feel different than the right side? It's pretty great. All right, so we're gonna come back to feet on the floor, a little windshield wiper moves. I definitely want to do the other side. I hope you guys are on board. Hello. So I'm gonna take my legs, go in the opposite direction. I have a small helper here, so see how this goes. Hello. So now I'm going to actively try to draw this hip away from my ribs. I'm going to stretch out through my arm, kind of draw my hip around the corner here. Good morning. Good morning. Nice deep breaths, yogis. Two more. All right, so the leg that's on top is the one that I'm gonna hang on to, so we come back to the center. Hang on to that leg, and then we're going to spin the foot in circles. What are you up to? What are you up to this morning? Good morning. Go the other direction if you haven't already. Then point and flex your foot. All right, so now flexing the foot back, we're going to see if we can extend that leg out and then bring it back. And it may not go all the way straight, that's all right. Oh, you and your hamstrings work things out. So we'll see if we can extend it. Hug it in nice and tight. And then one last time. Now, I'm gonna put that left foot on the floor, or you can, whichever is your other foot, right? So then crossing the shin over the ankle, or the ankle over the thigh. Eventually I'm going to get the body parts right. Okay. So I'm taking my left towards the right knee, and again I can do that just by using my obliques, keeping the hands behind the head so that you can keep your neck nice and steady, or you can rest your right arm, stretch out nice and long to the corner with your left, and then bring yourself up, trying to use your obliques to do all the work. Your head is just along for the ride. Stretch out, stretch over. bonus round. And then come on back. Again, check in with yourself, see what happened. And then you're going to bring the legs in if you can. If not, just leave them on the ground. But let's give that hip a little extra stretch for a moment. It's good to give your hips some love. Alright, so again, we're going to bring the hands behind our head. We're going to press the head back into the hands. I'm going to start with my knees about over my belly button or so, and then curl both sides in. Again, trying to really focus just on these center abdominals. Keep the neck supported. Three more. And a bonus round. And then come on back down. Release both legs. You can do little windshield wipers. Stretch both legs out for a moment. And then just feel where it landed you. That feels nice. All right, yogis, we're going to come up into the roll up. So you're going to roll yourself, if you can, all the way up to a seated position, fold over your legs, roll all the way back down. Now, the issue with this move is that sometimes we can't get all the way up off the floor, and then we either have to push off or use the hip flexors to try to thrust ourselves forward. So we really want this move to be slow and controlled. So for that reason, I'm going to break it down myself into two halves. And then I'll do the first half, which is rolling up as far as I can, rolling back down nice and slow. Then we'll do the second half, all right? So you can do the full roll up if you can do that, maintain that with nice control, or you can follow along with me. So I'm going to put my hands behind my head, just to remind myself of what that feels like to have my neck nice and strong. And I'm going to reach up, and without using my neck to try to get off the floor, I'm going to lift as high as I can and then come back down, okay? Just as high as I can. So I'm not thrusting forward with my neck, but using the abdominals as slow and controlled as I can. Feeling that moment where I feel my hip flexors try to take over. Pause. I'm a little stronger on one side than the other, so I'm going to just emphasize my not as strong side. We're going to do 3 more rounds. Alright, now I'm going to come all the way up to sitting and stretch over my legs. So when you stretch over the legs, lift through the breastbone, fold through the pelvis, okay? Then we're going to come back up and then round through the back, lower as far as you can before you lose control and feel the hip flexors let go. Sit up tall, fold. So we're going to try to really just feel the back curl down as far as we can go. Come back up. So you can do it either way, but this way I kind of avoid using my stronger places and make myself use the parts that really need the work. Sit up tall, fold forward, sit up tall, curl back. Sit up tall, fold forward. We're going to do it 3 more. This is 1. Sit up tall, fold. Sit up tall, curl back. Last one. So if you're doing the full roll up, next time you roll all the way up, that's where you'll pause. So sit up tall, fold over your legs, lift through your breastbone, try to make your spine as long as possible. You can bend your knees a little bit to help take some of the pressure out of your hamstrings. Take a few more breaths right there. We're going to let ourselves go. Perhaps in more ways than one. And then we're going to come over to an all fours position. Oh, goodness. Now, once you get here, it's a nice idea to give your back a little bit of love. And I'm going to do this with my fingers pointed forward for the first round. And then I'm going to turn my hands so that the fingers point out to the side. And do a couple rounds. And I'm going to do one round with my one hand turned all the way around the back and one hand pointing forward. That's a little less intense. And then as I round my back, I'm just going to stretch through the bottom of that wrist and forearm. So I'm going to do the top of my wrist by pressing my palm down and kind of leaning into that. The wrist a little shimmy. And then I'm going to turn that hand forward, the other hand back. Same idea. Go slow and take your time feeling this out. Putting my top of my hand on the floor and just trying to bring this forearm back as much as it's willing to come in. Give that a little shimmy. All right. So hopefully both wrists feel a little bit warmer. Stretch out your fingers and bend them in a few times. Now, we're going to place the hands about shoulder distance apart. You're going to tuck the toes, head back into down dog. If down dog is not right for you for whatever reason, then instead you can hold this all fours position, or you can come to child's pose and do a little bit of work there. So you get similar upper body kind of stretch out, not as much weight bearing. Okay, and not as upside down. So I'm stretching my hips back, letting the shoulders get to a place where it feels like they're a part of my upper back. Everybody's shoulders are a little different, and where they'll fit best is up to you, but find a place that feels strong and steady. And then we're going to move the heels up and down. Put a little bit more work into the calf muscles and maybe the ankles a little. Nice. Now you're going to walk yourself together so you wind up in a forward bend. And if you went to child's pose and you're ready, you can tuck your toes and kind of push yourself up to here. Or you can also come to a little half forward bend. Again, if the issue is having your head lower than your hips, go for the half forward bend. Give yourself a little sway from one side to the other a few times. Keep your knees as bent as you need to so everything works well, doesn't cause trouble. And we're going to come up all the way to standing, give it a big stretch. Okay. Now, I have a couple of little malfunctions to correct. I need to tie my hair in a knot that won't fall out, and I need to get a drink of water. I need to get my mat misted. So I'm going to do those three things. What you can do, if you like, is do some side stretching, some little other fun things, so that you are just right and ready to go. So I'm going to point my toes forward, settle my weight so that it's even on both feet, front to back, side to side, left to right. Let the shoulders relax. Notice if you kind of tend to flare the rib cage, see if you can connect a little bit between the rib cage and the hip. And pause and just take an overall stock of things. Don't lock your knees out if you can help it. Just feel like, is everything the same left to right? Does one side feel tighter than the other? Is there anything you notice? There might not be, that's okay. Alright, so we're going to take the arms up, give it a big long stretch. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up halfway. Now, we're either going to step back into a lunge and leave the knee up, or for whatever reason you need to, you can put your knee down. Now, I'm going to use blocks so that when I step back, I've got my chest nice and high and I can keep some length in my spine. Some of you are going to find it's just fine to do that with your hands on the floor. Now, if your knee's on the ground, you're going to move your hip forward and back. If your knee's off the floor, then we're going to rock up and down on the toes a little bit. So we're going to straighten out the front leg a little, lift up onto the tiptoes, and then bringing the front knee back over the ankle, press back through the heel. Okay? So we're just going to do this little pulsation about 4 times. Your leg may not want to go all the way straight in the front. That's fine. We're just making a little bit of leverage so we can lift our hips. Really press back through the heel. Or you're moving your hips forward and back, which also is fine. It's just a different shape. Okay. So we're going to take this one more time into the lift, and then one more time I'm going to come back to this lunge. I'm going to hold steady and add a twist. So I'm going to take my right hand off the floor, turn to my right, stretch up, and then I'm just going to see if I can press up and back through my left thigh so that I keep this twist moving up my back as best I can. There's nothing wrong with our hips helping us twist. It's just I want to get this upper back mobile, so I'm trying to make myself do a little more work there. Okay, take one more breath. Come out of your twist. I'm going to set my blocks off to the side so I can step back to down dog. You could just as easily step back to alt fours. All right? And so now I've got a slight difference between my left and my right, so noticing that. And then coming forward into a plank. Now you can maintain a full plank, or you can maintain a modified plank. Draw the navel in, lift through the shoulders, try to lengthen from your spine, all the way from the top of your head to your tailbone, all the way down the spine, lengthen. We're going to stay for 2 more breaths. Just holding that plank. And then lowering down, you can put your knees down first if you like, lower all the way. We're going to come into cobra. So lift, come down. Now make sure you're using your back muscles and not your arms. So we're going to slide the hands back about 1 inch. Lift, come on down. Slide the hands back 1 inch. Lift, come on down. Last one. Slide them back. They may not touch the ground all the way, no worries. Push the fingertips down. Lift. Come on back down. Bring your hands up where you had them. We're going to push ourselves up and take it back to down dog. Now, my left leg's going to come up. I'm going to bring that knee in, round up as best I can. Stretch it back, sink through the right heel. Make it nice and long. Curl in, round up. Sink the heel, stretch back. One more time, I'm going to bring the knee in. Curl up, and then step that foot as far forward as it'll go in one step. Bring the other one up to it. Come up halfway. Fold over. Come all the way up to standing. Ooh, give it a big stretch. And then find that mountain pose again. And see if you feel a difference in the 2 hemispheres at all. And it is, if there was a difference last time, is it the same? So we're going to take a nice big breath, reach the arms up. There might be a little baby back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up halfway. All right, exhale, fold. So again, you're gonna step back into a lunge. You decide whether your knee is up or down. If it's down, you move the pelvis back and forth. Still moving the pelvis back and forth, just a little different with the knee up. Okay, so I make sure I've got a nice long space. This knee is over my ankle. I'm pressing back through my heel, nice and firm. And then I'm just coming up onto the tiptoes, straightening this leg out a bit. And then coming back to that lunge. Lifting and stretching back. Lifting. Stretching back. I'm going to do it one more time. Feels good. Lift. Stretch. And again, once you get to the lunge here, we're going to add the twist. This time turning toward the left. And again, I'm going to try to lift through my right thigh, just make my spine do a little more of that work. Try to free some tissue around my back. Take one more breath. All right, so we're going to come out of here. Again, I'm going to step these, I'm going to set my blocks off to the side and step myself back into down dog. Finding that dog, feeling that out, and then we're coming forward into plank. Again, either maintaining that full plank or maintaining that modified plank. 5 deep breaths. No matter which version you're doing, you want to hug in through the abdominals. We're pulling the sides of the waist in. You've got to make room to breathe, but then pulling back in. Lengthen your spine. 2 more breaths. You can bring your knees down if you like. We're lowering all the way down. Cobra number 1, hands up high. Slide them back. Cobra number 2. Work your legs. Press them down into the floor. Cobra 3. Cobra 4. This one might slide us almost to the uncomfortable point in the wrist, but we're lifting right up, no weight on the arms. Coming on down. Now, I'm going to scoot all the way over to the right edge of my mat. I'm taking my right leg, bringing it over so that it rolls me onto my back. So hopefully, it doesn't take you too far off your mat. And then, I'm going to take this into the single straight leg stretch. So I'm going to bring my right knee up. I'm going to hover my left leg. I'm going to curl my shoulder blades up off the floor. And then I'm just going to give it a little extra squeeze. Stretch the right leg out, curl the left knee in, give it a little extra squeeze. Now again, if you're prone to using your neck to do this work, put your hands back here, push your head into your hands. Switch legs, curl in. Switch legs, curl in. Stretch through that leg that's going away from you. Use your abs to get that little extra curl. One more set. Now bring both knees in, curl up. We're going to take the legs out, give them a little bit of a V. Now, I can work with my legs like that, or I can bend the knee. I'm going to give myself a little rock up so that I can get started here in the open leg rocker. So I can either keep the knees bent, rock back, rock up, catch the balance, or you can go for a straighter leg. This is more challenging, and it's not as bad going down, but coming up, it can be quite tricky. So the higher up your legs you go, more challenge. Try to control the movement. Nice and easy. Two more. Excellent. Put your feet on the ground. Roll yourself down. Stretch out nice and long. And then we're taking ourselves back over onto the belly. Pushing back up into down dog. Taking that right leg up. And then we're going to pause there, stretch, and then curl in. Stretch back, reach into your left heel, curl in. One more time. Step that leg as far forward as it'll go. Bring the left one up. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Come all the way to standing. Give it a nice stretch. And then we'll take that mountain pose. See where we landed. This just really interesting sort of energetic feel that working the core creates in the body. It's fun. Now we're going to shift the weight into the right leg. You're going to take your left leg and bring it up. Now you can do any balancing pose you want. You want to do a tree? You can do a tree. You can do an eagle. You can do a dancer. So I think I'm going to do this little chair shape. So I sort of harken back to where we started. So I've got an ankle across my thigh, pausing here. I can try slightly different arms. So try to get as steady as you can in your balancing pose. Steady as you can being the optimal phrase. We're going to take 2 more breaths if we can do it. Now I'm going to pick my left leg up and step back into warrior 2. If it doesn't feel very secure, adjust your legs until you feel like you're in an appropriate amount of space here. So I want my hips to be friendly, and I don't want this thigh to collapse inwards. So I'm going to hold my legs nice and steady. Come on back to the side stretch. So this is the mermaid. The mermaid's usually done seated in Pilates, but it's essentially the same movement. We're going to do it inside of warrior 2. So we're stretching out, reaching through the length of the body, stretching back, reaching through that side waist. All the way from the heel to the fingertips, and then keep that front leg steady as you stretch that front side waist. Coming back one more time. Now, we're going to straighten out the front leg. You can give yourself a little bit more length right there. And then we're going to come into triangle pose. Now, there's lots of ways to approach a triangle. So you get to decide how you want to approach it today. You can extend the arms. You can wrap around and do a bind. Just feel out what's happening. Don't do things that suck. I was just realizing how much I was trying to turn my hip under and how crappy that was feeling. So now letting my hip go back where it wants to be. Couple more breaths. Now, we're going to take ourselves into a wide angle forward bend. So we're just going to swing this around. Turn your toes to whatever a point it feels okay to do. So if parallel feels good, cool. If that bothers your knees or your hips, let them turn out a little bit. Just go increment by increment until it feels just right. If you need to bend your knees, for crying out loud, keep your low back and your hamstrings happy. No one wants you to tear your butt. Now, this is really fun to me. And that's to extend the arms way out, so it's almost like downward dog, but with no weight in the arms. And then kind of lean back into it. I often do this with blocks under my hands so I can get a little extra reach. or like downward dog, but oh, so friendly. Take 2 more breaths. Now we're gonna come all the way around to the front. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. And then come all the way up to standing. Oh, it's gonna take a second. Oh. Extend out. And then find mountain pose. I like to appreciate the difference. All right, so we're gonna do whatever balancing pose you did last time, but now standing on your left leg. So I'm gonna do this little chair balance with one leg up. Try to hold it relatively steady given the wobbliness. Two more breaths. All right, so I'm going to pick up this leg and step back to warrior 2, and then you'll just undo whichever version you were doing. Okay. Get a steady placement for your feet so your hips feel aligned. It doesn't feel like you're going to jerk yourself around too much. And then we're going to lengthen through this little mermaid movement. Side angle to a reverse. Do one more reverse shape, and then we're going to come into triangle pose. Again, kind of feel your way in. Exhale, kind of bring all this back to a regular downward facing dog. Feel where that landed you. We're going to come forward into plank. And then we're going to lower all the way down to the belly with control. 3 cobras this time. Lift. Lift. And this time we're going to take the hands out wide, elbows up like little lizard legs. Right shoulder goes forward, left shoulder goes back. Look to the left, reach through your left leg. Come on back. Left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. Look to the right, reach through your right leg. To the left. To the right. One more to the left. To the right. Now you're going to extend your right arm up, lift with your left leg, roll onto your side. So we've got hips stacked on top of hips, shoulders on top of shoulders, and we're nice and steady. If you need a little more steadiness, bring your legs a little forward. If you want a bigger challenge, then you'll maybe raise the arm, put your hand by your ear, give yourself a little extra wobbliness that you have to control with your abs. Now we're going to take the feet and bring them behind, and then we're going to lift the feet. So the knees are down, and we have an internal rotation here at the thigh. So we're going to open the knees. That's going to work this outer hip. If you can do it, extend the leg to make that a little harder. Bring the toes together, bring the knees together. If that's too much, just open the knee, hold it, lifting through that side of your thigh, and then bring it back down. Okay, just make sure your knee isn't in any trouble. So we're extending and coming back, or just holding and coming back, okay? So choosing appropriately for yourself. Trying to hold steady through your side waist. If you can, pick that right side waist up so that you're drawing in through your sides. So those transverse abdominis muscles are strong. Try to keep the wobble out of the core. Good, we got 3 more. And then a bonus round. And then bring the knees together, extend the legs back out. And so we're gonna take this top leg and bring it across. So you can leave it out long, or you can bend at the knee. If the knee can either rest on the floor, or you can rest your foot on the ground. If you rest the foot, just be sure that you're not pushing your hip out of alignment. Try to keep that hip nice and steady. We're gonna lift this bottom leg and the side waist. Pulse up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make a circle underneath there, or a figure 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Circle the other direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift that leg again and hold it steady this time. Lift through that side waist. 10, 9, 8, a little higher. 7, 6, 5, 4, a little higher. 3, 2, 1. Good, we're gonna bring that leg down, extend that top leg, roll back onto the belly. Hands by your shoulders, just a little, work those legs, baby cobra. Beautiful. 2 more, little baby cobra. Now, if it's all the same in terms of how you arrange your body, you can just extend your left arm and roll onto your side. I'm gonna swing around just because I think it's easier for you to hear me if my voice is pointing towards the microphone. I think that's better. So your left arm resting your head. Get yourself nice and strong and stable, hips on top, shoulders on top. Then we bring the feet behind us, okay? And then we lift the feet. So we're trying to keep the hip from falling forward. We got a nice stable base. Open, extend if that's appropriate. Bring the feet together, bring the knees together. So we're working this outer hip and this little inner thigh muscle that's responsible for helping to bring those knees back together. Steady and with control, almost like you're moving through water. Try to hold that thigh nice and steady as you extend that lower leg. Don't let it drop if you can help it. Let's do 3 more. And what I really mean is 4, because you could take the bonus round. And then we're gonna extend the legs, come back to that nice steady place, and swing a leg forward. And again, you could bend the knee in whichever way is appropriate. Now, get your hips back together so they're nice and steady. We're gonna lift this lower leg. So I'm trying to hold myself up through the side of the waist, as well as that inner thigh. Pulsing up, 10, 9, 8, 7. Pick up that side waist, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold steady. And we're gonna circle or make a figure 8 with the foot. Okay. There. 3, 2, 1. You're gonna go the other direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now lift that leg and hold it steady. Lift through your sideways. We're going to try to just hold it steady for 10, 9, 8. Sideways step. 6, 5, 4, 3, little higher, 2, 1. Bring that leg down. Now we're going to roll onto our back. So, pause for a moment. Feel where it landed you. Just notice the body's response. So we're going to do just a few rolling bridges, and then we'll do some shavasana. So you're going to get the feet nice and firm on the floor. We're going to curl the tailbone in, lift up. So once you feel the weight on your shoulders, you can pause there for a moment if you like. And then you're going to roll yourself down as best you can, 1 vertebrae at a time. Once the pelvis touches down, you can extend out or just hold that bridge shape. And we'll come back. Feet under you. Curl the tailbone up. Find your bridge. And then come down 1 vertebrae at a time as best you can. Once the pelvis touches down, again you could extend out or just hold that bridge shape. We're going to do it one more time. If my hamstrings will agree. So we're going to take the hips up. Good. As best you can, find that feeling of steadiness, and then start to feel 1 bone at a time for your upper back, the middle back, and then that lower back. Touch down on the floor. Again, once your sacrum returns to the ground, you'll give yourself a nice big stretch. Now, we're going to do some shavasana. I know some of you guys like to bug out before you do this. I'm going to just put out there, this is really good for your nervous system. But you have to run off to work. Before you leave, if you guys would just leave me a little comment in the chat section, just so I know everybody's here and I can appropriately count you. I think I've got it, but just in case. So if you're sticking around, no worries, I'll count you at the end. And then we're just going to pause. Now, if your low back arches off the floor quite a lot, if you put a pillow or a folded blanket under your legs, that will take a little bit of pressure out. And you can certainly double up a little bit of support under your head as well. And then the reason this pose exists is so that we can return to as best as possible to that really soft, relaxed body, and allow the nervous system to send back some information so that we slide into that parasympathetic, super relaxed state. Through your mouth and your face. Don't worry too much about the breath, just let it do its thing. Exhale, sigh. Then you can start to wiggle and stretch and move around, wrists and ankles and fingers and toes. Alright, yogis, when you're ready, you can bring yourself to a seated position. You did it. You made it all the way through Shavasana. If you want to stay longer, I'm not going to stop you. You're at your house. But what I will do is, for the purposes of ending this together, is I'll suggest that we take a big old breath together. Nice big inhale. Big deep sigh. Namaste, beautiful souls. Thank you for sharing your practice with me over the interwebs today.